sweat the haters. My swag just make me an instigator. You just gave me breath, don't need a ventilator. Gotta protect me from all these infiltrators. Speed up, hit the accelerator. Spiritual warfare got me like the Terminator. Don't snap in them teeth like alligators, but I keep on going on my escalator. Let's go. I know you love me, Jesus. I know you love me, Lord. I know you love me, Jesus. I know. Hey, so I'm stepping out, 'cause this is what it's all about. Yes, got me dancing for the King. I'm stepping out, 'cause this is what it's all about. Got me dancing now. Let's go. One time, get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. Get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. Get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. We're dancing for the King of Kings, and we are feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. Dancing for the King of Kings. I'm a child of the King, I don't need no favors, 'cause I know that my God gon' hear my prayers. The force with me like I got lightsabers. Jesus said it, so I always love my neighbors. Got dominion in my city like I'm the mayor. One love, one life, so I'm no player. Sentenced to hell, but God gave me a waiver. Never given to the devil, not later. I know you love me, Jesus. I know you love me, Lord. I know you love me, Jesus. I know. Hey, so I'm stepping out, 'cause this is what it's all about. Got me dancing for the King. I'm stepping out, 'cause this is what it's all about. Got me dancing now. Let's go. One time. Get your hands in the air. 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 Come on now. To the right. To the left. To the right. Oh yeah. Get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. Get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. Get your dancing shoes on the floor right now. We're dancing for the King of Kings, and we are feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. You know I'm feeling good, good, good. Dancing for the King of Kings.
Good morning, y'all. Okay, so Gov has left me by myself. Y'all know I don't do this right. So y'all just deal with it. I don't know why he didn't do the morning inspiration. He didn't do nothing. Matter of fact, Gov, come do your part. How you just gonna throw me up there like that? You ain't did no intro. You ain't did no nothing. Like, for real, you ain't did the scripture, the morning inspiration. Just nothing. Just left me here. I was so unprepared for this. Like, I'm used to him having everything already together. He says his phone is dead, y'all. Okay. I'm not going to even continue to go there. So, let me find a morning Oh, you got something. Oh, okay. He drinking that coffee. You know he got a cup. Stevie Steve, you already know he got a cup.
I need my extra cup.
Whatever.
I need my extra cup. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show. Today's host is Mama Quita, because it's the Mama Quita Love Series. That's right. So, you got it. You good. But I thought I put that on mute. So, give me 1 second.
That just
You a big girl, you got it. And every time I try to save you, you tell me I'm a big girl.
it ain't about you saving me. It's about the platform. It's about the structure of the show, and you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Hey,
so
Steve.
I'm just saying.
How you doing there, sir? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show. Georgia First Black Governor and Mama Quita. Today is the Mama Quita Love Series. And the question is your relationship raggedy?
No, it ain't no question. Your relationship raggedy.
You got a ragged shit. And they say in the South, ragged shit relationship. You got a ragged shit relationship. So, how y'all doing? Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Stevie Steve. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everybody who's going to tune in. I thank God for being alive, for the First Lady, our children, being here today in the right frame of mind. Yes. And all the good stuff that comes with the intro. Don't forget that if you're on Facebook, make sure you hit the like button. And don't forget to share. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We might not have a lot of people because people might be mad.
Why they mad?
Because I was kind of hoping you didn't come on because I had a message that was given to me last night. I couldn't sleep for about 4 hours because it just kept going through my head. So, but y'all will get that later on today. So don't worry.
So then they not mad. What are you talking about if you didn't even put it out?
Oh, I did. I put out half of it this morning. So, what it do, Josh son? Good morning to you. So, your morning scripture comes from Psalms 27 and verse 1. It said, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Are we gonna ever do the bald head show? It's over 2 years now. Well,
yes, Stevie Steve, we are definitely going to do the bald head show. Yes.
Stevie Steve, I'm trying to let mine grow back out. Trying to let it grow. Trying to let it grow back out.
Good luck with that.
My wife won't help me. She like this George Jefferson look for some reason.
Good luck with that.
So again, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Nobody. Nothing. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Nothing. Nobody. So why be afraid? Why shall you fear if the Lord is in your life? If he's the head of your life? If he's over everything? The money, the finances, the love part, the marriage, the way you function, how you think, how you move. Who shall you fear? Nothing and nobody. So, that is your inspirational read, and that is your verse for today out of the scriptures. Now, let's see what God for us gave us this morning. Ooh. God for us came out of James 1 and 26. It said, those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongue deceive themselves. And their religious is worthless. Boy, I wish you had a meeting.
That goes right along with the message today.
Right along with what God told me last night. Oh! I wish we weren't doing the love series today. Y'all lucky. But I'm going to let you have it. And that goes along with your raggedy relationships too. James 1:26, those consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves. And their religious is worthless. Worthless. I'm gonna be good because this ain't my show today. But I done got fired up. But I need to calm down and back out the way. You look so cute on camera. Don't she look cute this morning?
Go away.
So that is your inspiration to read from God's For Us. I will post it on the Facebook page and put it in the Fans of the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show page. You can also follow God's For Us on Facebook at God's For Us, and you can visit their website at godsforus.com. So I love y'all. That is me time for this morning. And without further ado, the wonderful, the beautiful, the gorgeous, the woman of wisdom, Mama Quita, and your raggedy relationships.
There he go with that coffee, y'all. That's all I got to say. Why is this
It's
thing blocking my face?
It's the best part.
Why is this thing blocking my face? Like, I feel like I gotta...
Probably if you move up closer to it.
No.
It won't block your face. There you go, right
Put it
there.
down. I don't want it all in my mouth. Jeez. Y'all, I don't think
Never mind.
think pray, Jesus, pray, y'all, pray. I don't think I was quite set up for this whole radio show stuff. Like, I don't think this whole setup is like me. Okay. Hey, y'all. Okay, so he done set it up with the God's For Us verse. Your tongue, y'all. Raggedy relationships cause your attitude affect dissension. Dissension is basically arguments that lead to dissolvement. Basically, arguments that lead to separation, division, all that good stuff. So, I'm reading and I keep seeing scriptures that include humble, contrite heart, meek, humility. And then on the other side of those words are words like revive, deliverance, guide, honor, exalted, salvation. And it's always a cause and effect. And, you know, we hear these words that are familiar to us. And a lot of times when we hear words that are familiar, we don't take time to actually look them up and see what the actual context of the word is. So I went back and I looked up these words. So I looked up Okay, before I go into looking the definition of these words, okay, Jesus, we're going to go into the scriptures that I read. And then we're going to work backwards in these words and how they relate to relationships. Because it's funny, the scriptures that I read were in relation to our relationship with God. But then as I kept going and he led me from one place to the next, he said our relationships on earth are what our relationships with Christ should look like. And if they looked or mirrored one another, guess what, y'all? We wouldn't have a world full of divorced families and broken families. We would actually have relationships that look like what God forms them to look like. So let's start with Isaiah 57 and 15. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabited eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. Hold on. Let me do something. I just thought about. Everybody don't understand King James words. So let's put this in plain English for y'all. And I know some of y'all be looking forward to the entertainment, but y'all know when I come on here, I do the teaching. Entertainment comes from Gov. 57 and 15. The high and lofty one who lives in eternity, the Holy One, says this: I live in the high and holy place with those whose spirits are contrite and humble. Humble means low and opposed to high and lofty or great. Someone who is modest, meek, and submissive. A contrite spirit means someone who has been broken, worn, bruised, meaning brokenhearted, deeply affected with grief or sorrow. I live in a high and holy place with those whose spirits are contrite and humble. Then in second, can y'all hear me? I need y'all to tell me whether or not y'all can hear me, because I'm being told I can't. When you do that, you block my face. Better. Hello. Steve said he can hear me. Steve said he can hear me. Okay. There we go. Y'all, Gov is trying to drive me crazy with this here, because he should have been here doing this, not me. You know I don't know how to do this. I'm just saying. Okay. So then it goes on and says, and when the Lord saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the Lord came to the Shemaiah, saying, they have humbled themselves, therefore I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance, and my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem. That's Second Chronicles 12 and 7. And then in Psalms 25 and 9, thank you, Jason. Psalms 25 and 9 says, the meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his ways. So when I read those, I had to look up meek. And meek means mild-tempered, soft, gentle, not easily provoked or irritated, humble, and humility. Okay, I see where this is going. Then he led me to Psalms 149 and 4. The Lord taketh pleasure in his people who will beautify the meek. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Proverbs 15 and 33 says, the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Are y'all catching on? Proverbs 18 and 12 says, before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. Proverbs 22 and 11. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Proverbs 29 and 23. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Matthew 7, 1 through 2. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with that measure shall it be measured to you. Matthew 18, 3 and 4. And said, verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 23, 11 and 12. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. Again, he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased or brought down. And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. Romans 10 and 13. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Romans 12 and 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. Ephesians 4, 1 through 3, and I think this is the last one I'm going to cut off, and then I'm going to go into explaining. I, therefore, a prisoner of the Lord, preserve you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with longsuffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And I stopped there, reason being, it says, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. A lot of times in relationships, we know that every relationship has hard times. A relationship is not a relationship unless you have two people willing to fight for, willing to work together to make sure that the relationship gets where it needs to go. If you don't have two people willing to fight for it, it won't last not even a month, especially in the same house. When we're married, we are to come together in as one. Now, even those who are in relationships that are not married, living together, you're still one. You still have to deal with each other 24/7, 365 days. And if you have someone like who I have, the king of my house, the king of my domain, if you have someone like I have, you both will test each other's patience. You are going to test each other's nerve because you have two strong minded people. But the difference is, even though you have two strong minded, strong willed people, you have people who know how to be meek. You have people who are willing to have the long suffering, because you're going to have hard times. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have all of these things. And guess what? When you have all of these things, it's hard to not just say, I can do this by myself. Period, point blank. And in the world today, everybody says, I don't need you. I can do this by myself. Well, if that was the case, why do we need relationships? But that's a whole nother subject. We have to understand that when God created a male and a female, a woman for the man, he said, husbands, love thy wives as Christ loves the church. Wives, reverence your husband. Now, we've had the conversations that women need love, men need respect. We've already did that. So, with that being said, how do we make this in action? And the biggest issue in relationships is that people don't want to be humble. They don't want to be the word submissive. When they hear the word humble or humility or meek or submissive or mild-tempered and soft, they think doormat. That's not what that means. It has nothing to do with being a doormat. It has nothing to do with being a pushover. It has nothing to do with abuse. Whereas a lot of men think that when a woman is to be submissive, that means that he is dominant over her. And that has nothing to do with it, because actually we're supposed to be submissive to one another. And with being submissive to one another, we should have characteristics such as being humble. We should have characteristics such as being meek and being able to use humility with one another. And I'm not going to say this is just in the relationship of a male and a woman, but I'm going to say that this is in any relationship, because I even find myself having to bring myself to humility when it comes down to my children. If I'm wrong, I apologize. We feed, as humans, we feed off of one another. We speak to each other incorrectly, then that gives way to the other person reacting. The word says a reaction of anger brings about wrath, but a quiet spirit, But a quiet spirit, let me see. I got it for y'all. But we should always be able to humble ourselves one to another. When we are able to bring ourselves low, God lifts us up. He exalts us. That's why when we come to God, I love a dominant when every once in a while. Well, the thing is, Steve, we all have, it's a balance. There's not one over the other, because we should all have something in us that is able to speak up, to be able to tell someone that they're wrong, to be able to put you in check. Period. It's a balance, but you should also know when it's time to bring it down, when it's time to humble yourself. If me and my husband are in an argument, I don't mind being the one to bring it down. I will shut it down quick. Like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. We'll shut it down. And then once we calm down, we can come back together and have a discussion about it. But if I didn't know how to humble myself and I just had to be right and I had to be the dominant one, then I would bring the worst out of him. Or if I didn't know how to humble myself, he would bring the worst out of me. The enemy will use that against the relationship, absolutely, all the time. That's how he brings the dissension. And our attitude plays a huge part in that. And it goes along with our understanding. Society says that you should not be humble, that you should always be the one who, you should always be on your toes and aggressive. And it doesn't matter if it's your husband, your mama, your kids, you should always be the dominant one. And that is just not true. If our relationships are to mirror that which God has with us, then we should be able to humble ourselves one to another. When we go to God in humility. We go to God praying, because whether or not we like it, a lot of people don't go to God praying until they're in a place where they just can't take no more and they're broken and they're like, God, I need to get out of this situation, even once we've gotten ourselves into the situations. We don't want to take responsibility, but we go to God crying like, God, get me out of this. But God didn't get you into it. But because he is who he is, he has mercy for us, and he shows us grace and mercy by getting us out of those situations. Yet you're still going to learn the lesson that you were supposed to. But we have to humble ourselves. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. Absolutely. When the lower we get before God, the higher he brings us up, the more exalted. You don't have to lift yourself up. You don't have to try and get yourself in everybody's good graces. That's God's job. If you're doing what you're supposed to do with God, he lifts you up. And the same thing in our relationships. If we humble ourselves one to another, then guess what? Our relationships wouldn't be raggedy. A lot of people wouldn't be angry and hurt and upset because of the pure fact that when you humble yourself, things change. Period. And when God sees you as meek, that means you've been broken. And now, because you've been broken, he can work with you and through you. Now you can reach a multitude of people. I've never been a popular person. In high school, I wasn't popular. I wasn't trying to kick it with the cool kids. I knew people and I had relationships with people. And because I was humble and because I would tell you the truth, people came to me and they consulted and confided in me. Yeah, a lot of those were behind closed doors and all that good stuff. But that's what happens. Even now, the way that I carry myself, and I'm not, I'm just using myself as an example. The way that I carry myself when I'm talking to people, I'm not overbearing. I'm not pushy. And I don't have to be involved in people's conversations or lives. But because of my humility and my humbleness and my transparency, people come to me. And when they come to me, that gives me the opportunity to tell them about God. No, I'm not pushing God on them, but if they come into me, they already know the type of person that I am. God is going to intercede and intervene and interject into that conversation by my will. And it's the same thing in our relationships. God created a family. He created Christ as the head. The man is to answer to Christ. The woman is to answer to Christ and her husband. And then we have our children, and then we have work and everything else that comes up under that umbrella. But there is an hierarchy. And with that hierarchy, God said that the husband is to love his wife as Christ loves the church. And with that being said, I'm going to read y'all Ephesians 5 because it's important in understanding how we are to treat one another and why our relationships are in the dismay that they're in. Ephesians 5:24 says, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husband in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. And I'm going to touch on that in a minute too. And then I skip down to 28, verse 28. It says, so ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. Well, for women, did we not come out of Adam? He said, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Oh, okay. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So, Gov says in society we are taught to be on top, not ride shotgun. Steve says, I agree with you, but humbleness can be seen as weakness. So we must be careful with those around us. And again, that goes back to the balance. I've had plenty of people try me. They try me all the time. And the reason they try me all the time is because most of the time I'm quiet. I'm watching people. And I watch people because that's how I discern character. So I already know if I'm watching this person, I know this person is going to try me in a minute. I know this person is going through something. I know that person needs prayer. I know that person, they're prideful. So I'm paying attention to my surroundings. I'm paying attention to the people that I have in my presence so I can address each one the way need be addressed. Just like I know my husband. I know if I go to him in a certain way, it's going to bring out this side of him. If I go to him in a different way, if I go to him humbled and quiet and all that good stuff, he's going to be playful. He's going to be loving. He's going to be caring. But if I go to him in a dominant way and I'm talking to him sideways, yeah, we going to have an issue. And when you know the people who are in your presence and you're paying attention enough to catch on to certain things, I already know, okay, that one gonna try me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna real nicely put them in their place. Very rarely do I have to raise my voice or get ugly, because I've learned how to stay in a place of humbleness and humility. So when I put you in your place, I'm going to put you in your place real nice and real sweet. And you going to bring it down to where I am because of my humility. See, what we need to understand is that we are atmosphere setters. We control the atmosphere and the environment where we are. And when you're meek, you are mild-tempered, soft, gentle, not easily provoked or irritated. So that means you can try all you can to get to a meek person, but you're going to piss yourself off because you're trying to make that person angry, and it doesn't work. Shahid said he laid down his life for the church, so we are to lay down our lives for our wives. Exactly. Jason says you can be humble and confident and stand your ground respectfully. We are the thermostat. Exactly. People have the version of humble that you're talking about, Steve, is the one that society has pressed into people's minds. So people see someone who's meek and humble or quiet and subtle, and they think they can run over them. And then you have the opposite where people say the quiet ones are the ones you better watch. You're absolutely correct. Because if they're in that place, they've done a lot. They've been through a lot, and they don't have time for foolishness. Now, they can be crazy or they can just be meek. But the quiet ones are the ones you got to watch, because 9 times out of 10, they're watching you. It's the loud one. It's the proud one. It's the haughty one that you ain't really got to watch them, because they ain't going to do nothing. They talk as their defense mechanism. Okay, y'all just got me somewhere totally off guard. But in our relationships, we are to treat our physical relationships just as we treat our relationship with God. If we knew and understood the Steve Jason says peace. Yep, he's on Facebook. If we knew the effect, it's one of those things where the old saying, you catch more bees with honey. Absolutely. But we're taught that we have to tell you how we feel, especially women. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. You're not going to treat me any kind of way. I got to tell you how I feel. I got to be ratchet. No, you don't. You don't. You don't have to be ratchet at all. Matter of fact, if you humbled yourself, you'll get more done. You'd be amazed at the people who are willing to work with you and do for you if you learned how to be quiet and humble yourself. God will use your enemy to bless you when you learn how to not only humble yourself, but lay down your life to your flesh. See, when it comes down to walking out this walk with God, we have to sacrifice our lives daily. Daily. It's not something I can do tomorrow. It's not something I can do yesterday and not do it today. Because today will be the day that I do something and mess it all up. Because I decided I wasn't going to walk with God today. Walking with God means you're going to put up with things. Let me tell y'all something. My last 2020? My last 20 years have been a total roller coaster ride, with 18 of those years being drops, consistently dropping until I hit my plateau in 2010. In 2010, that's when I quit school, I quit working, my husband walked out on me, but I quit school and I quit working because my husband told me that I wasn't home enough at the time. My ex-husband told me that I wasn't home enough and he was finding other ways to entertain himself. I was in and out of the hospital with migraines, and the last time the doctor told me that, Miss Jokes at the time, if you don't get your stress under control, you're not gonna be here. And I prayed to God, like I laid it all down. I'm tired, I'm done, I want out. Now, what I didn't know is what I want out meant. I want out meant losing everything. Rock bottom. Completely. With nowhere to turn. Let me take that back. I did have one place to turn, and that was my mama, and I thank God for my mom. She's a wonderful woman. God bless her. She is still alive, and she's still kicking and rocking. And she ain't going nowhere no time soon. But I am grateful because my mother has a 2-bedroom townhome, and me and my 3 kids lived, 4 of us, in one room for 5 years. And in those 5 years, my life not only was, I had hit my plateau in 2010, but then after that, my 2011 and 12 were kind of rocky because I was still trying to figure out the thing with my marriage at the time. And in 2012, that was it. I was done. Completely done, completely over. I had nothing else to give. I had mentally left the relationship gone, done, over. And God was working on me and with me. And I can't not say through me, because at that time it wasn't nothing to be worked through except my own self. And it was in that time that he allowed me to be isolated. Now, I'm not telling anyone that isolation is the answer. You have to be isolated on God's time, because when you isolate yourself, your mind is the devil's playground. If you are not filling it with the word of God and positivity and keeping yourself around people who are going to feed you what you need to be fed, period. But at this time, he had me in about a good year of isolation. I still had friends, I still had family, but my communication and my interaction with them was very limited. And reason being was because he was working with me and through me. In my first marriage, I had the ratchet girl syndrome. I was nagging my husband. You will definitely play yourself, just sign. I was nagging my husband. I thought that I could make him do what I wanted him to do with my mouth. I thought that because I wanted things to work out, I could make him turn into the person that I wanted him to be. And God said, no, ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no bacon, no bologna, no. Now, the only person who can change someone is me. And when I realized that reality, I said, God, work on me. Period. And in that, I had to humble myself. That's when I learned what humility and meekness meant. Really, truly meant. I had always been somewhat of a humble person because my mother is a humble person, and that's how I grew up. But that's when I really learned and understood what that meant. And for me, to me, what that meant was being humbled unto God, staying on my face, seeking God first. And when I did that, God changed my life completely. And I do mean completely. But with becoming humble and meek and staying in a place of humility comes the scripture that I read, Ephesians 4:13. With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. You're going to go through some things. You're going to learn long suffering. You're going to have to bear some things. You're going to have to cry. You're going to have to withstand some hard times. But the truth is, we do that with or without God. And in our relationships, in our houses, the enemy comes to steal, kill, destroy. A house divided within itself shall fall. So the enemy's greatest weapon against a family is to cause dissension. And if we can cause dissension, we can cause division. And if we can cause division, then we can have a broken family. And if I have a broken family, now I can get to each one of them individually, because now I can play on the dad's mind while he's over here in this household. And then while he's over here in this household dealing with his issues, I can play on the mom's mind. And now the mom isn't paying attention to the children. And because the mom isn't paying attention to the children because she's so stuck in what she's going through, now I can play on the minds of the kids, and now I can throw in thoughts of suicide. Now I can throw in rebellion. Now I can throw in drug addiction and alcoholism. Now I've got each one of them in my own playing field. And here we are today in 2020 with the adults being afraid of the children, with the children not being being reared up to reverence God. So they have nothing that they're afraid of. Our kids are afraid of nothing. We used to have an invincibility complex. But these kids, boy, I don't even know what to say they have because they fear nothing. Most of them don't have fathers in the home or even a male figure to look up to. And if the men or the women are single mothers, they're so busy working, trying to just keep a roof over their kids' heads. That most times they don't even have time for their kids. TV is raising them. The streets are raising them. I've got a friend who's a teacher. And I remember her clearly saying one of her parents came in. Her son was the problem child. And she said, "Ma'am, I really don't have time to deal with him. I have 3 other kids that I'm raising up and I'm trying to keep them from doing what he does." And this is the society that we've allowed to become because we want to be like the wives on Love and Hip Hop. We want to be like the Atlanta housewives. We want to be the basketball wives? I think that's what it was called. These are the shows that are being examples and role models to our kids, to our little girls. I be darned. Not in my house. Foolishness. No, unacceptable. Instead of teaching them what it is to be able to control yourself, your attitude, how you react. And this is why our relationships are raggedy. No one teaches you how to humble your tongue. Bridle your tongue. Your tongue is as sharp as a double-edged sword. With our words we speak life or death, blessings or curses. But no one wants to be responsible for their mouth. And their mouth comes from the attitude, and the attitude, everything that comes up out of you comes from what's being put into you. We have to learn. And once we learn, we teach those younger than us, whether they be your children, your nieces, nephews, friends, families, co-workers. It doesn't matter. It's our responsibility. Everybody says they want a better world, but nobody is really willing to do it because the only people that they want to be responsible for is themselves, and we can't be responsible for anybody else. But my thing is, if you can't be responsible for just one other person, Ms. Edge says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. Period. But if we're not responsible for and to our children, those who are around us, my kids, all of my kids' friends call me mom or auntie. Every child that has ever come into my presence either calls me mama or auntie. And with those two things come responsibility, blood or not. So when they come in my house, they come in my presence, they know there is a certain way that they are supposed to act. And I'm going to hold them responsible. And their parents know I'm going to hold them responsible. Exactly. It seriously takes a village. Because if not, the cycles will continue. Now, the Bible does say that we are going into worse days, but that don't mean that you have to sit down on the job. A lot of the things that are happening is because the people who call themselves Christians, and I'm just going to go here, I know some people ain't going to like it, but the people who call themselves Christians are the very ones who walk away and say that's none of my business. When God said it's your business, because it's for you to pray for those who are lost. It's for you to hold your brother accountable when you see them doing things that are not what they're supposed to be doing. It's for you to hold yourself accountable when you are wrong. You go back and you apologize, and just out of your actions, other people will follow. Ms. Edge says we have to create a safe village for our children. It is our responsibility. And for a lot of people our age, if they had a safe village, if they still had parents like our grandparents, if we took our minds off of the thought of what we didn't have or what we lacked, so now we try to overcompensate our children, and we got back to our basics and our fundamentals, we wouldn't be in the mess that we were in, that we are in. If we stay prayed up, our communities wouldn't be able to be infiltrated by the drug dealers, by the gangbangers. If we took our place and did what we were called to do, what we were ordered to do, what we were commanded to do, because it is law, that we are to spread the gospel. It is our responsibility. But so many of us, we turn our backs, we hide our faces. We're ashamed to even mention Christ. Some of y'all are ashamed to even mention God. Our overcompensating has given some of these kids the entitled attitude. Absolutely. And because some of us grew up and said, I'm never going to whip my kids. Oh, okay, so now your kids are whipping you. I'm sorry. The Bible says do not beat them out of wrath. But you're supposed to whoop them. You're supposed to hold them accountable. Just like God chastises us and corrects us, you are supposed to correct your children. But you wondering why your relationship is raggedy, because for some of y'all, your kids is why you can't have a man or a woman in the house, because your kids are running your house. Raise them up in the way that they should go, period. You see, as I was sharing my story, I didn't start dating again. Okay, so me and my ex separated in 2010. We went through a spell of 2 years where we were trying to work on it, and then after those 2 years in 2012, it was over, done, boom. My divorce was final in 2014, but it was in 2010 that God had set me in a place where he had begun to work on me and work on my mind. And it says that we are transformed by the renewing of the mind. So he began to show me where I was wrong. And then in 2012, not only did he begin to show me, they come to my house, mine and yours, and getting whipped. I know that's right. Absolutely. But he began to show me in 2012 that I went into the relationship with issues from my childhood, from my father, from the men that were in my life, from all of the stuff that I never dealt with as a child, and I took it into my marriage. And then he began to show me the mirror, and he began to work on me. And as he began to work on me, it took me 5 years of not dating, not talking to anyone, because I refused to be the angry, bitter black woman that we are portrayed on TV. And in that time, that's when he taught me humility. He taught me how to be humbled. He taught me meekness. He taught me how to be quiet. And that's when I learned that's where my strength was, not from being ratchet and speaking everything on my mind. But in the midst of that, he taught me how to be a wife. And it was funny to me, how did you teach me how to be a wife without being a wife? And then as I began to do my studies, and as I began to listen to other women who were prayed up and had been through what I was going through, the first thing they said, which I teach younger women now, is that you are a wife before you become a wife. You don't become a wife when you become a wife, because then you do what I did when I got married the first time. I didn't really understand what it meant to be a wife, so I fumbled and stumbled through it, and guess what? It ended up in a mess. And it ended up in a mess because if I had learned what I needed to learn in the first place, I would have never married him, because my eyes would have been open and I wouldn't have ignored the red flags. I wouldn't have married him in the first place. Because see, on the way to being a wife, there are certain discernments, there are certain lessons that you learn. So it took me 5 years to, Jason says, carrying baggage into new relationships set up a relationship for failure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So in me, and this is just what he just brought to my mind, he said, I was teaching you how to be a wife in the physical, but I was training you how to be my bride in the spiritual. And see, what we have to understand that is that things happen in the spiritual before it can manifest into the physical. So me laying down my life, me learning how to humble myself before God, learning humility and meekness. He was training me. But because I was willing to do that for God, now that I have become a wife, I've learned how to do that for my husband. It's amazing because in the time when I did start back dating, I think it was in 2017, the guys that I was dating, I could definitely see that God had fixed those things that were broken inside of me, because I was no longer attracting the same type of guys. Excuse me. So the guys that I attracted at that point were definitely opposites of my ex-husband. And with that being said, because they were opposites of my ex-husband, I could definitely see that no longer was I stuck, that I had grown. And women and men, what I want you to take from this part is the fact that until you do your work, there is something. See, spirits attract like spirits. Certain spirits feed off of certain spirits. So whatever it is that's in you, you will see a similarity in all of the people that you're dating. They may not be the same. No, I'm not saying that they're the same, because we're all uniquely and fearfully made. We're all wonderfully and fearfully made, so we're unique. We're not all exactly the same, but you'll see the same characteristics. And when you see those same characteristics, there's something in you that is equal to that characteristic. But I digress. I want y'all to take that with you. But I began to date these guys, and they were good guys. For the most part, they just weren't for me. But it wasn't until I made the very final guy that I had dated before my husband. It was funny because God gave me a warning. Anytime I dated someone, I would pray first. God, show me what I need to see about these people. And I remember this particular guy, I was sleeping and I had a dream about these snakes. And me and my son was in the kitchen, and it was this snake outside. And it went from a white snake, it was a pure white albino snake, to a king cobra. And at the time, I was like, oh. But at the time, I was going through something with my son, and I thought it was pertaining to my son. But then when I went in and I did research on the snake, the white albino snake is actually not threatening. It's just a snake, as most people, we're scared of snakes. I know I am. But it's non-threatening. It won't harm you. But of course, we all know about the king cobra. So this snake changed from a white snake to a king cobra. And I dated this guy, in about the second week, he showed me who he was. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, bye, done, cut, over. Because at this point, I had no issues with cutting folks. I learned real quick the red flags, all that good stuff. Yeah, I ain't got time to waste. Done. So I told God, I went to God, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm done. I can't do this no more. If it's meant for me to be by myself, I'm good. Just take this desire out of me. If you don't want me to be with nobody, take it out of me. I know you can do it because you're God and all things are possible. And at that moment, I was done. And then God had such a sense of humor. Because when I said I was done, that's when God decided to say, hey, this is what I got for you. And in a blink of an I mean, literally, just that quick. Now, I've been dating since 2017. Here it is, 2019. And then all them fools I dated prior to me getting married. And then my husband. And then just that quick, God told me, literally told me, like literally said, this is the man I created for you. Steve, really? Steve, really? But the funny thing was, I knew him 20 years ago. And the even more funnier thing was, at the time, we were kids. Neither one of us was in a place where we were ready for what God actually had in store for us. But it was just that amazing that within a blink of an eye, and then as I began to pray and get into God, what he told me was, I couldn't give you what I had for you until you were ready. And being ready means that you won't place anybody else in my position. Because a lot of times when we get married or when we get with people, we end up placing them in God's position and making them God, our God, versus keeping God being who he is and placing them under God. I'm just saying, when he brought that coffee to your house, you was Steve, I'm not fooling with you. So God said, until you was willing to lay down and sacrifice everything for my will, then could I give you what I had for you. So with that being said, it wasn't till I got to a point where I was at full humility. And I mean complete humility, that God was able to give me a relationship with a person that he knew I wouldn't break, I wouldn't tear down, I wouldn't belittle because of myself. And then he gave me someone who understood the things that I had been through. He understood my hurts, my pains. He understood all these years of where I had been. So God couldn't give me someone who didn't cherish me for the gift that God said that I am. See, when you're in a relationship and you learn humility and you learn how to humble yourself, then you also understand that your words build. It is our responsibility to build each other up. It is our responsibility to be able to encourage one another, to push each other, to make each other better than who we were before. And that means understanding how to humble yourself one for the other. So that's my time. I actually have a meeting at 11:30 today, y'all. So Gov is going to come in and he going to close the show. So I love y'all. Go back over the scriptures that I gave y'all. Go back and listen, because some of y'all was in and out. Y'all done missed some stuff. But I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next week. All right, good. Come on. I gotta go sit up for this meeting. Hush up. Nobody ask you nothing. Yeah. Yeah. I like how you roll that back around. That's what we do.
You know how they do in church. Give Mama Quita a hand if you enjoyed the sermon for the day. Give Mama Quita a hand. Yeah, let me see some hearts and some thumbs ups or something. Let me, if you appreciate what Mama Quita brought to the table this morning. Yes, let me get some hearts and some thumbs up, and there we go. Right. You know how they do in church, Oh, man. But I do hope y'all got something out of that. They're giving you the claps. Yeah. So, I do hope y'all got something out of that. Your raggedy relationships, your attitude, how you see it, how you view it. But I tell you what, though, if you really want a great relationship, a great marriage, then you need to fix the relationship you have with God. Your physical relationship is raggedy because your spiritual relationship just might be raggedy. They're giving it to you on YouTube and on Facebook. Big up Mama Quita. But it's just a thought. Your spiritual relationship with Christ Jesus might be a little off, which kind of makes it real easy for it to flow into your natural, and your natural relationship be a little off. I'm just saying. Because if you on one accord with God, as Mama Quita said, the Bible says, seek me first. And all you do, and I will direct your path. So, as Mama Quita said, before she would date anybody, she would go seek God first. Say, hey, tell me about this joker right here. And God will show her and reveal and direct her path. So it was easy to snip. See, when you got that good relationship with the Father, then he not going to let you just walk into anything. Especially if you seeking him and all you do so he can direct your path. And if he's the head of your life, then that means who you join with, he also has to be the head of their life. So if you don't want a natural raggedy relationship, then you might need to check the relationship you have with Jesus Christ. Check the relationship you have with the Father. Make sure that relationship isn't raggedy. Make sure that relationship is on good standing. And make sure that you're seeking him in all your ways before you make a decision, before you call him up. Call up the Heavenly Father first. Because if you got a good relationship with the Father, then your attitude would change. And then the effects of your attitude changing will change the outcome of how you see things and how things will eventually happen in your life. So Mama Quita brought y'all a great message, a good message. And she summed it up, and it was powerful. And I hope y'all learned something today. So please understand that if you put Christ first, man, listen. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And only through him can you come through the Father. And who Jesus set free is free indeed. For they say he was there to help. He was there to create the foundations of the world. So why not have the one who created everything on your side? So, yes, the show is going to get cut short today. However, that will be a part 2 today. I will be coming back in a couple of hours because I thought Mama Quita meeting was earlier. But I do have a message to deliver to the saints and to the church and to you voters. So if you haven't voted, even if you have voted, I have a message. I couldn't sleep because this message, God was just downloading this message into me last night. And it was crazy because many prophets have prophesied this, and I was told to take what the prophet has prophesied and present this, preach this, minister this to those that watch the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show. Now, I've already put on Facebook what I will be talking about. And my topic would be a vote for Biden is a vote against God. I'm going to break everything all the way down. I'm going to give you a clear understanding because I'm here to talk to the voters. And I'm definitely here to talk to the believers and the church. And when I say the church, I mean those who God considers the church, not necessarily the building itself. So I'm not going to say that depending on how I title this, Mr. Johnson and everybody that's on YouTube, they might not give you a notification. Okay? So I'm going to try to do this before my son has to go to work. But I do have a part 2 message. So make sure y'all come back for the part 2 message. A vote for Biden is a vote against God. These are not my words. You don't have to take my word. And anything that we say on this show, anything that Mama Quita delivers to you, anything that I deliver to you, please don't take my word. Please go to God in prayer. Please ask for discernment. Because what I'm going to bring is not up for debate. I'm not coming back to debate nobody. I'm just coming back to tell you what thus says the Lord. If you don't like it, go to him, ask God, let him lead you. Let him guide you. Because I'm not here for debate. This is not up for debate. It's not up for debate. So if you got people that you know that are voting for Biden or leaning towards that, let them know that God is leaning the other way. So I see y'all back here. I'm going to just let my phone charge. It's now what, 11:35? I'm going to say about 2 o'clock. Well, hold on 1 second. Dewan, what time you got to be to work? You off today? Oh, that's right. So since he's off today, the kids are out of school, give me 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. I'll be back here 2 o'clock. So because of the title, YouTube might not send out a notification Facebook might not send out a notification because you know how they feel about Trump. But I don't really care how anybody feel about Biden or Trump. I'm not here to give my opinion on Biden or Trump. I'm here to tell you what thus says the Lord. And I learned last night that is the opinion that counts. How God feel is what truly counts. So I'll see y'all back here 2 p.m. and I'm going to give you what God gave me through a prophet. And not just one prophet, but many prophets. But God said either America is going to choose his grace or y'all are going to eventually choose your demise and your judgment. So either you're going to get 4 more years of grace or he's going to allow the demise and his judgment to reign on America. So be back here 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. 2 p.m., Jason. 2. And since my son is off, we're going to make this happen. And I was told to take what the prophet has prophesied to the people and minister this to my people. So invite your people in. It's already posted on Facebook. I've already got some comments already. But I'm here to talk to the church, and I'm here to open your eyes. These are not my words, so don't get mad at me. You can try to shoot the messenger, but that wouldn't be in your best interest. So come back 2 o'clock, and we'll go into... Oh, listen, these are not my words. These were the words from the Lord. You could either get 4 more years of grace, or you can go ahead and speed up your demise and your judgment. God has 4 more years of grace that he wants to place on America. So come back 2 o'clock. Let me go ahead and get set up. I got some phone calls to make. Again, thank you, Mama Quita. I hope everybody got something and learned something. And please believe, it is judgment time. You're right, Jason. But God said he will give grace. God said he's going to give grace. But that's up to the American people. So invite your people in. Oh, no. This judgment means demise. And it's not necessarily fire in the brimstone, and it's not to burn nor purge. But this judgment will be the demise of America. So that's why I said, come back 2 o'clock and we'll get into it. A vote for Biden is a vote against God's will, God's purpose, and God's kingdom. That's all I can tell you for right now. So I will see you at 2 o'clock. I love y'all. May God be with y'all and keep y'all until 2 o'clock. So I see you at 2 o'clock. So come back, Jason, 2 p.m. And I'm just going to lay everything on the table. Everything on the table. And I see you. Stevie Steve, Miss Edge, everybody. Come back at 2 o'clock. Invite your people in. Bring your people. Matter of fact, the post is already on Facebook. I dare you to share it. I dare you to share the post. A vote for Biden is a vote against God. I dare you to share it. And come back at 2 o'clock. 2 p.m. May God be with you until I see y'all at 2 o'clock. Gov gone.